Back to that high-profile trial, Russell Tillis facing the death penalty in a brutal murder. Jury selection currently underway. Russell Tillis is accused of horrific crimes that he has. Those facts alone make picking an impartial jury difficult, but prosecutors will also be allowed to introduce Russell Tillis's past criminal history, which includes kidnapping, rape, and child abuse. His attorneys have been telling the potential jurors all those facts and asking what would be an appropriate punishment. Several jurors said they would, quote, start with death and would need to be convinced otherwise. Some said that they would want to know if the defendant showed remorse or suffered extreme childhood trauma. Opening statements are expected to begin Wednesday.